Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes I challenge you, don't rush to the answer, rush instead to the question. According to conventional wisdom, answers make us feel safe. They bookend our sentences, they build reports, they close loops. But in a world defined by rapidity, by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, answers age like yesterday's bread. Stale, brittle, frustratingly unhelpful. But questions, they have teeth. They bite into the unknown. They demand fresh thinking. They create tension, clarity, direction. So today, I'm here to say, ask more, ask deeper, ask with the precision of a surgeon and the audacity of an explorer. Because strategic curiosity, yes, that's the weapon of the modern leader. Curiosity is not entertainment. It is not that little itch you scratch when you stumble across a new documentary on Netflix or a headline on your Twitter feed. It is not the hobby of the intellectually restless. Curiosity is fuel. It is energy. It is that catalytic force that takes an ordinary life and thrusts it into the realm of extraordinary possibility. The mistake most people make is believing that curiosity is random, a whimsical plaything of the mind. No, strategic curiosity is deliberate. It is sharpened. It is pointed like a spear. It doesn't wander aimlessly. It hunts. It hunts for opportunities. It hunts for blind spots. It hunts for insights that others are too lazy, too arrogant, or too complacent to pursue. You see, the world doesn't reward the person who has all the answers. The world rewards the one who asks the right questions before anyone else even realizes they need to be asked. Think about history's greatest disruptors. They were not born with the answers written on the back of their hands. They weren't geniuses simply by accident of birth. What set them apart was that they asked questions others were too afraid to ask. Why does it have to be this way? What if we could do it differently? Those questions became revolutions. Those questions tore industries apart and reassembled them under new rules. Those questions built empires while the rest of the world was still playing with sandcastles. Curiosity in its raw form is chaos, but when you shape it, when you direct it, when you discipline it, it becomes strategy. It becomes power. It gives you the ability to see not just what is, but what could be. It allows you to peer around corners, to anticipate the moves that others don't even know exist. That is the essence of competitive advantage. That is the essence of leadership. And here's the tragedy. Too many leaders, too many businesses, too many individuals shut curiosity down the moment it appears. They shut it down because it makes them uncomfortable, because it doesn't fit neatly into their spreadsheets or their 5-year plans. They want certainty, predictability, control. They want answers, and so they smother the very fuel that could propel them into relevance. They choose the comfort of what they know over the challenge of what they don't. And in doing so, they sign their own obsolescence. I have sat in boardrooms where people cling to old answers like a drowning man clings to driftwood. They would rather polish yesterday's solutions than entertain today's questions. They would rather defend their existing models than open themselves up to new thinking. And then they wonder why disruption blindsides them. They wonder why the young upstart, the outsider, the unconventional thinker walks in and rewrites the rules of their industry. It's simple. The outsider asks the question they refuse to ask. Strategic curiosity demands courage. It demands the humility to admit you don't know, the audacity to probe where others are silent, the discipline to keep digging when the world tells you to stop. It is not convenient, it is not polite, it is disruptive, it unsettles, it provokes, but that is its power, because growth does not come from comfort. Innovation does not come from complacency. Transformation does not come from repeating yesterday's answers. The leaders who will shape tomorrow are not the ones memorizing case studies or copying best practices. They are the ones interrogating reality. They are the ones asking, what problem are we really solving? What assumptions are we blindly protecting? What lies beneath the obvious? What is the question that nobody else dares to articulate? They are the ones who recognize that the quality of their questions determines the scale of their impact. Curiosity, when channeled strategically, is not just about gathering knowledge. It is about creating leverage. It is about using the unknown to your advantage. Every unanswered question is a door. And behind that door could be inefficiency to exploit, a new market to dominate, a technology to harness, a future to shape. But if you never knock, if you never ask, you will never enter. You will remain on the outside, watching others move boldly into rooms you were too timid to explore. So the real question is not whether you are curious. Everyone is curious. The real question is whether your curiosity is idle or strategic. Is it fuel that drives you forward, or is it just smoke that distracts you? Are you asking questions that open new possibilities, or are you settling for the easy answers that keep you in the same place? The world is moving too fast for passive curiosity. The cycles of change are too short, the margins of error too thin, the competition too fierce. The leaders who will thrive are those who weaponize curiosity, those who turn it into a habit, those who cultivate it as an instinct. They don't wait for crisis to provoke their questions. They ask them daily, relentlessly, obsessively. They ask until the answers they get are not comfortable but transformative. Curiosity is not a soft skill. It is a hard edge. It is a strategic necessity. It is the sharp line between those who create the future and those who are consumed by it. And so, you must decide. Will you feed your curiosity until it becomes fuel, or will you starve it until it dies inside you? Because the truth is simple. Those who run on curiosity will outpace those who run on certainty. Always, that is the power of curiosity. That is its fuel. And if you can master it, direct it, sharpen it, there is no question that you will not just survive the future. You will own it. In times like these, certainty is the most dangerous drug you can consume. It gives you comfort, but it kills your capacity to adapt. Answers are seductive. They make you feel safe, secure, validated. They close the loop. They quiet the noise in your head. But here's the tragedy. The moment you settle on an answer, the world has already shifted. The ground beneath your feet has already moved. That answer, which felt like security yesterday, is your prison today. We are living in a world where the half-life of truth is shrinking. Information is born, it lives, and it dies, sometimes in a matter of hours. What was a breakthrough last year is obsolete this year. The business model that defined dominance yesterday is disruption fodder today. And yet, leaders cling to their answers. They frame them, they celebrate them, they defend them. They mistake them for foundations when in fact they are quicksand. The real advantage lies not in having the answers, but in obsessively asking the right questions. Because questions don't expire. Questions don't age. Questions remain fresh as long as the world keeps changing. A question is a lens, a tool, a compass. It doesn't tell you where to go. It sharpens your ability to see. It forces you to probe deeper, to doubt assumptions, to test boundaries. While others are parading their answers, questions keep you restless, alert, alive. Think about it. The leaders who built monopolies were not those who had the neatest answers, but those who asked questions that nobody else had the courage to ask. Why can't we distribute books online, turned into Amazon? Why can't people carry their entire music library in their pocket, turned into Apple's iPod? Why should we own taxis when we can own the demand for rides, turned into Uber? None of those revolutions came from a final answer. They were born from a relentless question. The danger of answers is that they make you arrogant. The moment you have one, you stop listening, you stop searching. You stop growing. Answers freeze your imagination. They become your blind spot, your limitation. You defend them at all costs, and in doing so, you lose the very edge that made you relevant. Questions, on the other hand, keep you vulnerable. They keep you humble. They force you to confront the fact that you don't know. And paradoxically, that humility is your greatest power in an uncertain world. I have walked into rooms where leaders sit on their thrones of answers, reciting statistics, memorizing trends, throwing jargon at each other like confetti. And I've walked out of those rooms knowing they're finished. Because while they're busy defending what they think they know, the world outside is being rewritten by those asking, what if this trend shifts? What if this assumption collapses? What if this entire model no longer makes sense? By the time the answer defenders realize it, it's already too late. The disruptors are already at the gate. The world we inhabit today does not reward static knowledge. It rewards dynamic inquiry. It rewards agility, adaptability, curiosity. To thrive, you must master the art of living inside the question. You must learn to be comfortable with ambiguity, to dance with uncertainty, to treat I don't know yet, not as a weakness but as a strategy. Because in that space between ignorance and discovery lies your greatest leverage. You see, questions are not just intellectual exercises. They are tools of transformation. When you ask, why are we doing it this way? You challenge tradition. When you ask, what if we could do it differently? You ignite innovation. When you ask, who benefits from this system? You expose injustice. Every meaningful shift in history began not with an answer, but with a question. And yet, most people are terrified of asking. They fear that questions expose weakness, that they undermine authority, that they signal incompetence. So they fake answers. They pretend certainty. They bluff their way through. And in doing so, they stagnate. They miss the opportunity to see further, deeper, wider. They miss the opportunity to lead. The strongest leaders I know are not the ones with the sharpest answers. They are the ones with the sharpest questions. They are relentless in their curiosity. They interrogate reality. They never assume. They never settle. They understand that the world is too complex, too volatile, too fluid for definitive answers. They trade certainty for inquiry, and in doing so, they future-proof themselves. So if you want to survive in an uncertain world, stop obsessing over answers. Start obsessing over questions. Train yourself to ask better, sharper, bolder questions. Challenge assumptions. Probe deeper. Question your own answers, even the ones that worked yesterday. Especially the ones that worked yesterday. Because nothing is more dangerous than an answer that has outlived its relevance. The truth is simple. Answers close doors, but questions open them. Answers give you a destination, but questions give you a journey. And in a world defined by uncertainty, it is not the destination that matters. It is the ability to keep moving, keep adapting, keep discovering. So let the others cling to their brittle answers. Let them polish their obsolete truths. While they sink, you rise, because you understand that the future does not belong to those who know. It belongs to those who ask. There is something profoundly liberating about looking someone in the eye and saying, I don't know. But notice, I didn't say stopping there. The real power is in finishing the sentence with one small word, yet. I don't know, yet. That three-letter word changes everything. It shifts the phrase from a confession of ignorance to a declaration of intent. It tells the world, I may not have the answer now, but I am on the hunt for it. I may not hold the solution today, but I will. Most people fear those words. They think not knowing diminishes them. They think it strips them of credibility, that it makes them look weak, unprepared, or incapable. So what do? They fake it. They bluff, they pretend. They offer empty answers just to preserve the illusion of competence. And in doing so, they suffocate the very thing that could propel them forward. Curiosity, hunger, the drive to discover. The truth is, there is nothing more dangerous than a leader who pretends to know. That person becomes trapped in their own lies, their own ego, their own illusion of certainty. They stop listening, they stop learning, they stop evolving. The world changes around them, and they are left standing still, clinging to answers that no longer matter. But the one who can boldly say, I don't know, yet, that person is free, free to explore, free to challenge, free to evolve. Saying I don't know, yet, is not weakness, it is courage. It takes far more strength to admit you are not there than to fake that you are. It shows humility, but more importantly, it signals intent. It tells your team, your peers, your market, I may not hold the answer today, but I am relentless in pursuit of it. I am not frozen by uncertainty. I am energized by it. That's leadership. Think of the most groundbreaking discoveries, the most disruptive innovations, the most radical shifts in human history. None of them began with certainty. They began with people saying, we don't know how, but we will figure it out. Space exploration. It started with nations saying, we don't know how to touch the stars. Yet, vaccines born from scientists saying, we don't know how to stop this disease yet. Every industry that has been reshaped, every barrier that has been broken, every rule that has been rewritten, began with that acknowledgement. Not knowing is the doorway, yet is the key. But here's the challenge. Our culture celebrates knowing. We idolize experts. We worship specialists. We reward quick answers. From classrooms to boardrooms, we condition people to perform certainty. Raise your hand if you know. Keep quiet if you don't. The system rewards the illusion of knowledge and punishes the honesty of inquiry. And so people learn to hide their ignorance, to silence their questions, to avoid vulnerability. In the process, they bury the very fuel that drives growth. The leaders who rise above this noise are the ones who refuse to play that game. They are willing to look foolish, to appear uncertain, to admit gaps. But here's the paradox. Those admissions don't weaken them, they strengthen them, because people trust honesty. Teams follow leaders who are real. Markets respect those who learn openly, visibly, relentlessly. Nobody believes the person who pretends to know everything. Everybody believes the one who admits they don't, but is hell-bent on finding out. I don't know, yet, is also a declaration of resilience. It says, I am not defeated by not knowing. Too many people treat ignorance as failure. They encounter a problem they can't solve and throw up their hands in surrender. But the addition of yet turns that moment of defeat into a challenge. It becomes a test of willpower, creativity, discipline. It becomes fuel. And that's the difference between those who fade and those who thrive. The ones who thrive are those who stare at the unknown and say, not yet, but soon. In the business world, this mindset separates disruptors from the disrupted. The company clinging to its existing answers is brittle. The company that says, we don't know how to meet this new challenge, yet is alive. It is fluid. It is dangerous to its competitors because it is not paralyzed by uncertainty. It is mobilized by it. The same applies personally. When you face challenges in your career, in your growth, in your relationships, you will be tempted to retreat into the safety of false answers. Resist that temptation. Have the courage to declare, I don't know yet. Because in that statement, you grant yourself permission to grow. You create the space to learn. You take control of the unknown instead of being controlled by it. So the next time you are in a room and someone asks you a question you cannot answer, resist the urge to fake it. Look them in the eye and say, I don't know. Yet, watch the respect it commands, watch the space it creates, because people don't follow perfection. They follow progress. They follow leaders who are brave enough to be real, but relentless enough to keep moving forward. The future does not belong to those who pretend to know everything. It belongs to those who have the humility to admit they don't, and the hunger to close that gap. The power is not in the knowing. The power is in the yet. Questions are not just tools of intelligence. They are instruments of connection. When you ask, you invite. When you ask, you signal to the world that you are not here to dominate the conversation with your certainty, but to expand it with your curiosity. That is why questions carry more power than most people realize. They don't just extract information. They build bridges. They don't just expose gaps. They create trust. Think about the last time someone genuinely asked you a question and listened. Not waiting to respond, not preparing their counterpoint, but truly listening. In that moment, you felt seen. You felt acknowledged. You felt that your experience, your perspective, your story mattered. That is the invisible currency of leadership. Not authority, not position, not answers. Connection. And connection begins with the courage to ask. But most of us have been conditioned to use questions transactionally. We ask because we want something. We ask because we are trying to prove something. We ask because we are filling silence. That is not real inquiry. That is performance. True inquiry is different. It is purposeful. It is strategic. It is about creating spaces where people drop their defenses, where they open up possibilities, where they reveal truths that were otherwise locked away. When you step into a room, you have two choices: impose your answers or invite with your questions. One path creates distance, the other creates connection. Answers often draw lines. Who is right? Who is wrong? Who knows? Who doesn't? Questions dissolve those lines. They remind us that none of us have it all figured out, that we are all part of the same puzzle, that we are stronger when we build meaning together. This is why the most impactful leaders, negotiators, teachers, and visionaries are not the ones who always have the cleverest answers. They are the ones who ask questions that pierce through the noise. They are the ones who disarm a room by saying, "What do you think?" They are the ones who create ownership by asking, "How do we solve this together?" Questions empower. Answers often exclude. I have seen teams transform simply because a leader changed their posture from telling to asking. Instead of saying, "This is how we will do it," they said, "What do you see that I might be missing?" In that moment, they unlock the collective intelligence of the room. They turn subordinates into collaborators. They turn silence into dialogue, and they earn something no paycheck, no title, no office can command: genuine buy-in. But connection is not built on any question. It is built on the right kind of questions. Lazy questions breed lazy answers. Leading questions breed defensive answers. But authentic, open questions, those are catalytic. They ignite thought. They unlock emotion. They draw out perspective. A question asked with sincerity is a gift. It says, "I value what you think. I want to learn from you. I am willing to be changed by what you say." The irony is that in a world obsessed with speed and efficiency, we often kill connection by racing toward answers. We prioritize outcomes over conversations. We want results, not relationships. And in that rush, we forget that the deepest loyalty, the strongest commitment, the most enduring influence, is built not on having the answer, but on asking the question that makes someone else feel understood. Connection built through questions is also the antidote to division. In a polarized world where everyone is screaming their answer, the person who asks, "Why do you believe that?" or "Help me understand your view," becomes a rare presence. They don't inflame, they disarm, they don't escalate, they bridge, and in that bridging, they unlock new possibilities for cooperation, collaboration, and progress. On a personal level, the most meaningful relationships are fueled by questions, not declarations. Relationships die when curiosity dies. When you stop asking your partner, your friend, your colleague, "How are you really?" When you stop exploring their world, stop uncovering their dreams, stop being curious about who they are becoming, you stop connecting. You may still be present physically, but the bridge is broken. Questions rebuild it. The same applies in leadership. People do not follow titles anymore. They follow leaders who care. They follow leaders who listen. They follow leaders who make them feel that their voice matters, and the simplest, most powerful way to do that is through questions. What's your view? What are we missing? How can we do this better? Each of these is more than a query, they are a bridge. So when you stand before your team, your family, your community, resist the temptation to perform answers. Ask instead. Ask with depth. Ask with intent. Ask with humility. Because every question is an invitation. Every question is a signal of respect. Every question is a step toward connection. The paradox is this: people think power comes from answers, but real power, enduring power, is built on the connections you forge. And those connections are born out of the questions you dare to ask. So the next time you walk into a room, don't ask yourself, "What answer do I need to give here?" Ask yourself instead, "What question will unlock connection here?" Because in the end, it is not answers that make people move. It is connection. And the bridge to that connection is built one question at a time. There is a dangerous assumption that time is generous, that the future will wait for you, that the questions you are postponing today will still be relevant tomorrow. But the world does not pause, it does not give extensions, it does not wait for your readiness, it punishes hesitation, and in this reality, inquiry cannot be casual, it cannot be leisurely, inquiry must be urgent. The speed of change is brutal. Technology evolves faster than legislation. Markets shift faster than strategy documents can be written. Consumer behaviors transform in months, not decades. Entire industries rise and collapse in the span of a career. In such an environment, waiting to ask is suicide. By the time you get around to your questions, someone else has already asked them, already answered them, already built an empire out of them. The tragedy is that too many leaders treat inquiry like a luxury. They schedule it for the retreat. They save it for the offsite. They think curiosity is for quiet seasons, for when things are stable, for when they have time. That mindset is fatal. Inquiry is not what you do when you have time. It is what you must do precisely because time is scarce. The faster the world moves, the more urgent the questions must become. The right question asked too late is useless. It does not matter how intelligent it is, how deep it is, how clever it is. If it comes after the opportunity has passed, It is nothing but a postmortem. Too many organizations are brilliant at asking the right questions after the fact, after the market has shifted, after the competitor has disrupted, after the business has collapsed. They hold endless postmortems, analyzing with precision what went wrong. But by then it is theater. The horse has bolted, the market has moved, the damage is done. Urgency of inquiry is about cultivating the discipline to ask now, not later. It is about making inquiry part of your daily rhythm, not a rare occasion. It is about refusing to let fear of the unknown or the discomfort of vulnerability delay the questions that need to be asked today. The bold do not wait for permission to inquire. They do not wait for consensus. They ask, and in asking, they move faster than the world around them. Urgency of inquiry also demands courage, because urgent questions are not soft questions. They are sharp. They cut. They disrupt the comfortable silence of rooms that prefer certainty. Why are we still doing this? What are we not seeing? What could destroy us tomorrow? These questions unsettle. They make people defensive. They expose fragility. But that is their purpose. Delay them, and fragility becomes failure. I have seen organizations spend millions protecting answers that are already irrelevant because nobody dared to urgently ask, is this still true? And I have seen small, hungry teams seize markets because they had the audacity to urgently ask, why not us? Why not now? The difference is not intelligence, it is not resources, it is the urgency of their inquiry. Urgency also means you cannot delegate inquiry. You cannot outsource it to consultants, wait for the quarterly report, or hope someone else raises the uncomfortable question. If you are serious about relevance, you must carry the burden of asking yourself, every day, relentlessly, because inquiry is not an event, it is a habit. The leaders who win are those who never stop asking, who build cultures where questions are oxygen, where inquiry is the rhythm of the organization. But urgency of inquiry is not only about speed, it is about timing. Asking the right question before the world demands it gives you leverage. It buys you time to prepare, to pivot, to innovate. Asking it after the world demands it puts you on the back foot. It forces you to react, to scramble, to survive. The only difference between disruption and leadership is how early you ask the question. There is also a personal dimension to this urgency. Too many people live their lives postponing the essential questions. Am I on the right path? Am I building something meaningful? Am I growing, or am I just coasting? They wait for a crisis to ask. They wait until it is too late, until their career is stagnant, until their health is failing, until their relationships are broken. Then they ask, and the cost of the answer is unbearable. The urgency of inquiry is not just professional. It is existential. The paradox is this: people fear asking too soon. They think it will expose them. They think it will destabilize what they have. But the cost of asking too late is always higher. Always. Urgent inquiry is not a threat to stability. It is the only insurance against irrelevance. The only way to stay alive in a world that is moving at breakneck speed is to keep asking now, not later. So do not tell yourself you will get to it tomorrow. Do not tell yourself you will ask when you have time. Do not tell yourself the question can wait until the next quarter, the next season, the next phase. By then, the window may have closed. By then, the advantage may have disappeared. By then, the question may no longer matter. The future is written not by those who know, but by those who ask urgently, relentlessly, unapologetically. And the difference between relevance and irrelevance, between leadership and obsolescence, between thriving and dying, will be this: did you ask the right questions in time? Or did you wait too long, clinging to answers that no longer mattered? Because in the end, it is not curiosity alone that drives transformation. It is the urgency of that curiosity, the discipline to ask not someday, but today. Not eventually, but immediately. That is the true power of inquiry, and those who grasp it will not just survive the future, they will define it. So let's journey forward, not in search of answers, but hungry for questions. Ask your team, your customers, yourself, what could be better? What might we be missing? What if? And then chase those questions down. In a world that wants solutions, become the energy that generates the questions. Start there and you'll end here, at innovation, at connection, at impact.